November 8th, 2003. This is the New Westminster Sports Oral History Project. Today's interviewee is Noel Morrow, whose maiden name was Oxenbury. What is your full name?
Noel Gertrude Morrow Oxenbury by birth.
Okay. What is your date and place of birth?
I was born in New Westminster, December 25th, 1918.
Okay. And what is your marital status?
My mother was born in Ontario.
Okay. And your father?
My father was born in England.
And when did they come to New Westminster?
My mother came in the early 1900s. I'm not sure what date my father came, but he came out because his father had passed away at sea, and his mother's sister wanted her to bring the family out and live here in British Columbia.
Oh, okay. Do you have any children?
One,
Yes.
Carol Ann, she's now Carol Ann Wright.
Okay.
She has two boys. The older boy is Sean, and the younger boy is Terry.
Okay. So how long did you live in New Westminster?
Since 1960. I've lived out in the White Rock area since 1960.
And before that was...
It's always New Westminster.
Oh, okay. Okay. Please tell me your current address. Your address right now.
14963 20th Avenue, Surrey.
Okay.
BC.
Okay. So how old were you when you began sports?
It's hard for me to say because I was not well as a youngster, and my parents brought me to Crescent Beach for my health.
Oh, okay.
The doctor wouldn't allow me to swim when we first came down here. Actually, I was only 6 months old when I first came to Crescent Beach. And because I wasn't allowed to swim for some time, my progression in swimming was not too early in my life. I think I was probably around 6 or 7 when I was allowed to swim.
Was that the first sport you ever played?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you do any other sport?
No, I wasn't allowed to.
Right.
My coach, who was coaching me prior to the 1934 British Empire Games, wouldn't let me do any other sport, particularly tennis, because he said it developed one arm more than the other.
Right.
And other physical exercises were not thought of for swimmers at that time.
Right.
It was more desirable to keep one's muscles and limbs limber, rather than tighten them up too much.
Right, right. So you began when you were 6 or 7?
Yes.
And did you begin, training at 6 or 7?
No, I didn't have any formal lessons. My mother said that I used to sit on the beach when I couldn't go in the water and watch the other children swimming. So when I did go in, I just swam.
Oh, okay.
And the only swimming I did at that time until I was about 9 or 10 years of age was swimming at the beach in the summertime. I used to go into the swimming regattas that Crescent and White Rock were involved in.
And did you do all right in those? Or?
Yes. I would be in the top 3.
Really?
Yes. So it was just something I enjoyed, and I guess I did well with it.
Mm-hmm. So what motivated you to take this seriously?
There wasn't really a motivation in that sense. My mother met one of the members of the Crescent Beach Swimming Club prior to Christmas in 1933, and he was asking what I was doing, and was I swimming, and she said, well, once a week at the Y. And he said, well, the club had received a certain amount of money from some insurance project, and he thought that the club ought to send me back to the Canadian Championships the following summer. So that was what started my career in swimming.
Right. Just like that?
Yeah,
wow.
Just like that.
And so that was 1930?
1933 that he proposed I go back to the Canadian Championships in 1934,
right.
The summer of 1934.
Right. So did you get training?
Yes, the coach at Crescent, for the Crescent Beach Swimming Club, said that he didn't have the time to train me, so he suggested that we get in touch with a man named Norman Cox, and he gave me some training twice a week. So that was what I swam on, was the training that he gave me.
Right.
And I swam for the Crescent Beach Swimming Club in 1934.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so how did you get to the national?
My mother and I traveled by train to Hamilton, Ontario, where the Canadian Championships were going to be held. And she had a relative there, and we stayed with her. And because I won the backstroke event, I was selected to go on the British Empire Games team to London, England, provided we came up with $200 for my way.
Oh.
And Westminster raised the money for me to go on that trip.
Oh, really?
Yes, they did. Mm-hmm.
Well, it must have been a big deal in your first championship, to win the backstroke.
It was, because they didn't really know me, and there was a vast difference between East and West at that time, and there was not a great deal of knowledge of various swimmers between the two areas.
Oh, okay. So tell me then, prior to going to the Nationals, before going to the Nationals, did you compete a lot?
Well, I competed locally.
Right.
When Vancouver had any swim meet, I competed in that.
Okay.
I went to Seattle,
right.
And I went to Portland, but I went on my own because I had swimming for the Crescent Beach Swimming Club. There were no others that went to these things. Mm-hmm. So I would be on my own at these events.
Right. And so all through high school you swam then?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, I did.
Right. The story of your life.
Well, yes. It wasn't easy. Before the 1936 Olympic trials, we arranged with the New Westminster YMCA that I would go down in the mornings at 6 o'clock and do training before I went to school. But that was only for about 2 months before the trials were held.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So why did you like swimming so much?
I just enjoyed it. I liked the training. Once I got into a training pattern, I enjoyed the people that I swam with, and it was just something that appealed to me.
Mm. Now, you don't hear very often of people training in an ocean.
No.
No. So how did that happen?
Well, in the summertime, pardon me, in the summertime, we swam outdoors. They had a raft at the point, and we did our swimming in there. But we didn't train formally like they do today. We swam a lot for the fun of it in the summertime. Mm. So it just seemed to develop us, because I suppose that being youngsters, we had a natural inclination to compete with one another.
Mm. Right.
So it worked out that, we helped develop one another.
Right. And these people you competed with, did you go to school with them as well? Or?
Some of them, yes, but some of the swimmers were from Vancouver and a few other places, but mostly Vancouver and New Westminster people. Some are at Crescent Beach.
Right. So by the time you're going to the Nationals, you must have been known, sort of, in New Westminster at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eventually, I had to travel into Vancouver by tram, the Central Park tram, and do my training at the Crystal Pool in Vancouver.
What was the Crystal Pool?
Down by English Bay, Davy Street, in that area.
Was it an outdoor pool? Or?
No, it was an indoor pool, and part salt water and part fresh water.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, getting back to your time going to the Empire Games in England, tell me a bit about that experience. What was it like going to England?
To the Olympics?
No, the Empire Games.
The Empire Games? Yeah. It was quite an experience for me, because I'd never been anywhere before, other than just locally, Victoria, Seattle, and Vancouver. So we had to travel in those days by boat. There were no swimming pools, of course, on board ship at that time. So we had no pool to train in. We were 10 days on the boat, and when we arrived in England, we had to try to make up for that time. And it was interesting to see swimmers from other countries.
Right.
I can't remember a great deal about them, because that's a long way back now, but the most important one that I remember was a diver from South Africa, and the beautiful swan dive that she did. We were not too far from Hyde Park, and one of the girls that I made friends with, she and I used to go and listen to some of the concerts on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, very nice.
For something else to do.
So were you there long then?
I can't tell you how long we were there now, but I would say we were probably there 3 weeks.
Right. Very nice. Very nice. So how did you do in the Commonwealth Games?
Oh, I didn't place anywhere. No.
It was just a great experience.
Yes, it was. It was a great experience, and I was 15 at the time.
Really?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was quite a different sort of experience for me to go overseas and be amongst a number of athletes there. The team members were introduced to the Prince of Wales, which was quite a highlight in our experience.
And so after you came back and you finished the Empire Games, did you still compete in the nationals after that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Every year.
Oh, every year.
Oh, yes.
Right. Right.
I retained the backstroke championship until 1939, when we no longer had, the war was on, so we had no more national championships for a while.
So after the Empire Games, the next big games would have been the Olympics, is that right?
Yes.
And were you in the Olympics?
The Olympics were in Berlin, Germany, and we were 12 days on the boat traveling there, again without a swimming pool to practice in. But the accommodations in Berlin were excellent, both our living accommodation and the pools that we trained in. We had one indoor pool and the outdoor pool where the Olympic events were held to train in.
And what was Germany like in 1936?
It was, we found it a very clean place. The people were friendly. They were preparing for war. Our attaché to the Canadian swimming team was a lieutenant in the army, and he had spent some time in the United States, so he was familiar with our way of life, and a very nice man. We also had translator who was a university girl, very well educated, well spoken, knew English fluently, and was interested in what we were doing.
And so what would have been some highlights of being in Germany?
Well, the opening ceremonies, they put on some excellent performances during the ceremonies, and also at nighttime after some of the events were over. Then they had displays of large groups, the field almost full of youngsters doing exercises with wands and drills and things like that. Very well trained. And of course, as everyone knows, this is the games where Jesse Owens won so many events.
Right. And did you see those?
Yeah, I saw every event that he was in, yeah.
Really? And did you ever meet any of the sort of the German leaders or anything? Like, did you ever see Hitler or? Oh,
yes. We were not too far away from his stand, and we could see him quite clearly. In fact, I took a picture of him in the stand, and the other officials that were there with him. He had his main ministers quite often with him.
So that was quite an experience.
Oh, yes, it was. Yeah, it was very.
And so after these Olympics, did you compete anymore after that?
Yes, I competed locally, and then I competed for the 1938 British Empire Games in Australia.
Wow.
And I was on the ladies swimming relay team.
Oh, okay.
That won a gold medal. That's in the museum.
Right. So what was that like, going all the way to Australia and winning?
We were 3 3 weeks on the boat traveling to Australia. We had, again, we had no formal swimming pool. So I used to go down to the bathing deck where they had their large bathtub and half fill it with water and practice my kicking.
Oh, really?
That's all that one could do.
Right.
And then, of course, when we arrived in Australia, we were able to practice at the British Embarking Pool.
Right.
So it was, there again, the people were very friendly and didn't hesitate to make us feel welcome in the city.
And so you won the gold there.
Yes.
And that must have been an experience.
Oh, it was. We were the first ones to be presented with a gold medal at the aquatic events. So it was quite a thrill.
And when you came back to Canada, were you greeted in New Westminster, or how did it work?
Well, they didn't have a formal reception. Vancouver had a formal reception for the athletes that came back, and we were acknowledged, but I can't say that we were given anything in particular, like not a certificate or anything like that.
Right.
But we were formally greeted by the city.
Right. And then I guess there's newspaper clippings and things like that.
Yes, but I have disposed of some of them when we moved our house from our house at Ocean Park to here.
Right.
Because it was just too much to carry.
Right. Yeah.
But I kept the main things and pictures. I have an album of some of the places that we were, and some of the people we competed or were on our team to compete.
Right. So when you came back, 1938, right?
Yeah.
Now the next Olympics would have been 1940.
1940.
But they were canceled.
They were canceled. Yeah. So in 1940, from 1940 to about 47, there were no more championships held. I think it was for the 48 games that they held championships again.
Right.
So by that time I felt I was too old. Besides, I had my daughter who was just a couple of years old.
Right.
And,
Right. So did you do anything with swimming after you stopped competing?
Yes, I taught at Crescent Beach in 1943 and 44 during wartime because there were no men available to teach. So I taught there for 2 years then. Then in 1949, I started teaching again at Crescent Beach and taught until 1954.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's when you taught Alan?
Yes.
Alan Brew?
Yes.
Right? And he ended up doing well too.
Yes, he was selected for the 1954 British Empire and Commonwealth Games, which were held in Vancouver.
Right, right. So, did you enjoy coaching? Or did you enjoy training?
Pardon?
Did you enjoy teaching swimming?
Oh, yeah, very much. I loved the young people, and I got along quite well with them.
Yeah.
And we started out in 1949, I guess, with about 100 and some pupils, and in 1953 and 54 we had over 300 pupils, and I had 2 assistants
Really?
At that time,
Really?
yeah.
So this was a real job.
Well, I couldn't handle that many all myself. So.
No, I guess not.
Yeah.
So how long did you coach for?
That would be 7 years altogether.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then did you just, what made you decide to stop?
Well, I was having throat trouble, and the doctor told me I would have a chronic problem if I kept teaching.
Oh.
So that was the reason that I stopped teaching.
Right. And then did you do any other sports after that?
Yes, I did horseback riding.
Okay.
And curling.
Curling?
Yeah, and golf.
Mm-hmm.
But they were just hobbies.
They were hobbies. Yeah. But curling, it sounds like, from what I remember, you were fairly serious about the curling.
Curling, yes.
Yeah.
I had a team, and we used to go in various bond fields in the area, Vancouver and up the valley a little bit, as far as Hope.
Oh.
Yeah. So we did quite well.
Right. And that was in the 1950s or 60s, or?
That would be in the 60s, because I didn't really start to curl until we moved down here to this area.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then other than that, I mean, that's about it for the sports that you were involved in.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the facilities that you swam in. What was the YMCA like?
The YMCA in New Westminster was a small pool. I believe the dimensions were 45 feet, 6 inches long.
Okay.
It was quite small. But it was fine for when I first started swimming there, which was about 9 or 10 years of age.
Mm.
And it was a friendly group.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did they have a club there?
Yes, they did. Lenley Croy was the, I guess you'd call him manager and director. And leader at the YMCA at that time, and he had a swimming club, mostly of older teenagers around 17, 18 years of age.
Oh, okay. And
he invited me when I was 12 years of age to join this group, which I did, and he used to take the group into meets in Vancouver.
Right. And would you drive in, or how did you get to these meets?
Yes. Of course, at that time we trained at the YMCA in New Westminster, so he would arrange for cars to take us into Vancouver to the swim meets.
So you didn't have to take the train?
Yeah.
So once you started seriously training, then you must have gone to other facilities to train as well.
Well, the only other facility that I trained in was the Crystal Pool in Vancouver.
Right.
And when I started training there, I would go twice a week. One day was a school day, and I would walk down to the BC Electric, as they called it at that time, Columbia Street, and get the Central Park tram. It would take me an hour and a half to get to the Crystal Pool. I had 2 changes of streetcars once I got off the tram. Then I would train for an hour, and it would take me another hour and a half to get back home, plus extra time in between for changing clothes and so on. So I would be away 5 hours by the time I left the school till I got back home.
You have to take it seriously.
Well, of course, at that time I was, because I would be training for the Olympics and the 38 British Empire Games.
Right, right. So, what about your community? How did people get involved in what you were doing in the neighborhood? Did people come to your swim meets?
Oh, yeah. The pools were pretty well filled with people watching, and
really?
Some, a good many of them, of course, were parents and perhaps friends or relatives. But also in those days, reporters would come to the swim meet and report the meet.
Right.
The way they saw it. Today, I think that organizations turn in a report to the paper of the results of the swim meet.
Right.
But we...
So would these journalists just come and interview people as well, or how did that work?
They were very friendly to us and quite, I would say, complimentary. There were often big write-ups in the paper, perhaps half a page.
Really?
Yes.
In the local paper?
And pictures, yes, in the province and the Sun. And also in the Columbian newspaper.
Right.
Vic Andrews was the sports reporter at that time.
Right.
And he took an interest in me, and he did some very nice write-ups.
Right. Do you think there's been a lot of change in the way communities are involved in swimming than when there were back then?
Well, training is different now than it used to be.
Right.
And I think communities are getting a little more involved in swimming. It was difficult in some ways because I was the only swimmer for a long time in New Westminster.
Right.
And it really wasn't until after I began to develop some swimmers that New Westminster had more than one competitor.
Right. So you were like the competitor for
That's
Westminster.
right. I believe, as far as I know, I believe that I was the first individual competitor of any kind to go to British Empire Games or Olympics from New Westminster.
Oh, really?
They had teams go to championships, Canadian championships.
Right.
But as far as I know, they didn't have any single individual before me.
It must have been an honor.
I never thought of it at the time. It's only since people have been asking me about things that it has occurred to me.
Yeah. Tell me a bit about other sports in New Westminster. Did you ever go to lacrosse games?
Yes, I went to lacrosse games. I went to hockey matches. I went to as many things as I could, but I was limited to a certain extent.
Of course. But during an important game, like the Man Cup or something, would New Westminster all go to the games?
Oh, these games were widely supported by the people in New Westminster. I would say in those times that New Westminster was quite a sporting city.
Was it? Yeah. So it must have been exciting then.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. And they had a championship basketball team.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's great. What did you enjoy most about swimming? What was the thing that really kept you swimming all this time?
I really don't know. I just because I enjoyed the competition and the training.
Right.
I did enjoy my training.
Right. And tell me a little bit more about some memorable events that stick out in your mind. 3 or 4 that really
Well, of course, primarily the event where we won the gold medal in Australia in '38. And then on our way home, we had a stopover in Auckland, New Zealand, and they had a swim meet there, and I broke their backstroke record for women, and it was unbroken for 10 years.
Is this the world record then?
No, just their own
the
New Zealand record.
Right. Wow.
I think that seeing the Olympics in Berlin was a very prime highlight for me. And of course, the first time that I won the Canadian backstroke title was very exciting.
I bet. Well, you were young then too.
Yeah. Well, I was young, unknown. I had no idea what the competition would be like. So it was a thrill to have won that event.
And you took the train across, I'd imagine.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
With your mother, is that right?
Yes.
Right.
I think it took us 5 or 6 days on the train to get to Hamilton.
Right. And then you win it.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
What about your daughter? Now, she swam a little bit too, didn't she?
Yes, she did. She swam. She was primarily a backstroke swimmer, same as I was, although she swam freestyle well, of course, too. She also did synchronized swimming.
Okay.
And she and her partner were provincial junior championship champions in synchronized swimming. Then she turned to diving and did very well with that under Irene McDonald, and went to the '64 Olympics in Tokyo, Japan.
Really? Wow. So did you train her as well?
Well, I started her, but I didn't train her with diving because while I did dive, I was not involved in the high points of diving. So I did basic teaching, first of all, and then she trained with Irene McDonald eventually.
So, and then you mentioned synchronized swimming. Was that something you were involved in at one point?
Synchronized? Yes. I actually started synchronized swimming in this BC.
Oh.
Yes. I had a youngster swimmer at Crescent Beach that the parents came to me and said that the daughter was not really interested in swimming and competition. And so they were thinking of taking her out of swimming, but they really didn't want to because they felt she should be involved in some activity. So I started her with synchronized swimming.
Oh.
And she just loved it.
Oh.
And she was 3-time BC champion in synchronized swimming. Once we got started with synchronized, the BC section asked me if I would form a synchronized swimming section. So I did that, but I did not want to be president of the group. So we asked May Brown, who later became an alderman in Vancouver, if she would chair this section, which she did. And from then on, the synchronized swimming grew quite quickly.
Right. And when did that begin, synchronized swimming? When did you begin with synchronized swimming?
That would be about 1950. 1950 or 51. Yeah.
And was it always done with music?
Yes. First of all, I had seen it back in Winnipeg, when I was back to Canadian Championship, and it was called Water Ballet at that time. It was chiefly figures done in the water, like somersaults and ballet legs and so on. And it always remained with me because it interested me when I saw this.
Right.
So when there came a chance to start this synchronized swimming, I had not much background, but a little bit of an idea of what it was. And so we started to do what I would call simpler routines to music, and involved the various forms of exercises and figures that we knew. Then, of course, they did a lot of synchronized swimming back east, and we gradually got information from them, and I went down one year to Los Angeles to watch the American National Synchronized Swimming Championships, and came back with some ideas from there.
Right. Were they very involved in it?
Well, yes, they were more so than we were here, and I thought that since they were closer, it was easier to go down there than to go back east.
Yeah.
And they were very helpful as far as giving information was concerned. So it was an interesting period.
I bet. Do you still go to swim meets and keep up on what's going on in the swim world?
Well, I did while I was teaching, and for a little while afterwards, as long as Carol Ann was involved in swimming, and I did the first full routine to synchronized swimming here at White Rock at their first sea festival.
Okay.
And that started other people getting interested in that same thing.
I bet. Yeah. Okay. Tell me a little bit about friendships formed by being involved in sports.
I can't say that I became closely involved with anyone, because living in New Westminster and swimming with a Vancouver club, I didn't have time to be able to do things with them after our swimming training was over. But I was very friendly with Linda Adams. She was a diver from the VAFC. Joan Langdon, who was a breaststroke swimmer. Mary Dagley, who was a freestyle swimmer. And the three of us at times made up a medley relay team.
Oh, okay.
But there wasn't anyone particular in New Westminster that I was involved with. Just pupils in my own class that I knew well, but I wouldn't say we were really close friends.
Right. Have you maintained any contact with any of these people? Are you still in touch with some of these people?
Oh, well, yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
I was in touch with Mary Bagley, who married runner.
Okay.
She wasn't from Vancouver, but he was from this province.
Right.
And we became friends again after the reunion in 1994 of some of the athletes who had gone to Australia in 1938.
Oh.
It was, I don't know how, I can't remember how many years, but it was a reunion of some of the athletes who had gone to Australia in 38. And she has passed away now, but her husband, Bill Dale, is still alive. And I'm in touch with him occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefly at Christmas time with Christmas cards.
Right, right.
I remained friendly with George Athens, who was a diver, and he went to the 36 Olympics and the 38 games that I did. I believe he went to the 1948 games as well. But by that time I was a professional anyway after teaching at Crescent Beach, so I couldn't have tried for the team.
Oh, okay, because you were a professional. I see. I see. Wow, that's great. And I've also, you've been inducted into the Hall of Fame, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that the BC Swimming Hall of Fame? Or
yes, it's the BC Swim Hall of Fame.
Okay.
And it was very nice. I felt quite honored.
I bet.
Yeah.
And when was that?
That was at Whistler on October the 4th.
This year?
This year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
Did you see any old friends there?
No, there wasn't a soul that I knew. But they were very friendly. They were very kind to me.
Right, right. Well, that's kind of exciting. And so your legacy lives on.
It was. I have an award that I'll show you later on if you like.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. In terms of swimming, what sort of impact did it have on the rest of your life?
Well, it had quite a bit because no matter where I went, if somebody introduced me to someone else, it was a case of, oh, you're the swimmer, so I never got away from being a swimmer.
Right, right.
It's followed me all my life.
Right, right. Do you think it instilled any sort of discipline or outlook on life?
I would say that it confines the person to be involved in one athletic event like that. And it is a discipline as far as regimenting your life is concerned.
Yeah, right, I bet. And then what about the city of New Westminster? You mentioned earlier that there was a lot of sports in New Westminster. Do you think it's still an important part of the city?
I would find that a little hard to answer, I think, because not having lived in New Westminster, that would be little over 40 years now, I'm not sure how people support their sports. But they were, in my time, very sports-minded.
Right. Well, what about sports in general? Do you think that's important?
I think that if a youngster can be involved in the sport and can be kept off the streets and learn to discipline themselves, I think it's a good thing to be involved in sports.
Okay, well that's about it for the interview. Is there anything you think I might have missed?
I don't think so. I think we've covered pretty well everything, especially as far as the things that I was involved in.
Right. Okay. Good. Well, thank you.
Well, you're welcome.